Strangled. Shoved in a fridge. Murdered by her live-in partner. Nikki killed like Shraddha. Chilling murder stuns India. Big focus on Newstrack.
Another blood-curdling murder stuns, shocks and keeps India awake. This one from the national capital once again. Delhi isn't called the crime capital for no reason whatsoever, but two crimes in the last few months have captured a nation's imagination in the worst way possible. After Shraddha, now it's Nikki. One was chopped up and shoved in a fridge. This one was stuffed into a freezer as well by her own boyfriend. We're going to decode it for you. We're going to get under the skin of this story to try and see if we can find what may have caused such a murder to take place and what the way forward really is and what it tells us about our society. I'm Shiv Arur. This is Newstrack. These are the headlines. Income tax search is underway at BBC offices for over 30 hours now. The survey is likely to continue till tomorrow. BBC asked its employees to cooperate in full. An army man beaten to death by a DMK Neta and his aides. The councillor is currently on the run. Communal violence in Jharkhand's Palamu after a dispute over construction of a gate for Mahashivratri. 77-year-old woman rescued from rubble more than a week after the Turkey quake. Over 40,000 have lost their lives so far. The British Queen consort won't wear the controversial Kohinoor diamond for King Charles's coronation. Camilla's crowned to have a replica of one of the world's largest uncut diamonds, but not the real thing. The horrors of the Shraddha Walkar murder are still fresh in India's memory. It was one of the most gory murders, but 3 months later, a similar chilling crime has come to light. This time, it is young Nikki Yadav, who was strangled by her live-in partner Sahil. Her body shoved into a refrigerator. The killer got married just hours after murdering young Nikki, a woman he had been in a relationship with for 5 years. Take a look.
Shraddha Walkar and Nikki Yadav, victims of two horrifying murders, with the same modus operandi and motive. Bodies of the two live-in partners stored in fridges, and in both instances, the killers were chillingly remorseless. A terrifying rerun of the Shraddha murder case in Delhi. 22-year-old Nikki Yadav strangled by her live-in partner, 24-year-old Sahil Gehlot, earlier this month, after a heated tiff over his impending marriage. The accused strangled Nikki with a mobile charging cable in this car after she questioned his marriage. After murdering his partner, Sahil drove for 40 kilometers with the body, finally dumping the lifeless body in the fridge of a Dhaba in Delhi's Najafgarh. And believe it or not, moments after the murder, killer Sahil went ahead and got married to another girl the very same day. The act eerily similar to Shraddha's killer Aftab, dating another woman while her body was lying in fridge in the very same room.
इस वक्त हम मौजूद हैं बाबा हरिदास नगर पुलिस स्टेशन में और ये जो गाड़ी आप सफेद रंग की देख रहे हैं यही वो वर्ना कार है जो साहिल गहलोत की है। ये गोवा का रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर है, आप देखिए। इसी गाड़ी में वो रात में घूम रहा था 9 और 10 की रात, और उसके बाद उसने कॉल करके निक्की यादव को बुलाया। निक्की यादव जब पहुंचती है तो इसी गाड़ी में दोनों दिल्ली की सड़कों पर घूमते रहते हैं। 9 तारीख को इसकी सगाई हो गई थी साहिल गहलोत की, लेकिन 10 को शादी थी। जब ये जानकारी निक्की को लगी तो निक्की और साहिल के बीच झगड़ा शुरू हो गया। अब पुलिस को यह कहना है कि इसी दौरान जब झगड़ा हुआ तो गाड़ी के अंदर ही जो मोबाइल का चार्जर होता है उसके तार से गला दबा करके हत्या कर दी।
India Today accessed Nikki's CCTV images moments before she went to meet Sahil and got murdered. Unlike Shraddha's missing body parts, cops recovered a fully preserved body of Nikki from the fridge of the Dhaba.
बाहरी दिल्ली का ये इलाका है नजफगढ़ के आगे, ये ढाबा है, ये बंद सा इलाका है। ये ऐसा नहीं कि ये ढाबा वर्किंग है। यहां पर एक फ्रिज में ला करके उसने निक्की की लाश को रख दी थी क्योंकि उसकी शादी थी। अब पुलिस ये पता लगाने की कोशिश कर रही है कि किस तरीके से उसकी आगे प्लानिंग क्या थी, वो बॉडी को कैसे ठिकाने लगाने वाला था।
फोन्स में जो भी डाटा है उसको रिकवर करेंगे और जो जहां जहां वो उसको घुमा के लेके गया मर्डर के दौरान, वहाँ की कोशिश कर रहे हैं अगर सीसीटीवी फुटेज वगैरह मिल जाए। हालांकि रात का समय है तो वो सारे साक्ष्य हम जुटा रहे हैं।
Nikki's father said his family was unaware about Nikki's relationship and Sahil had misled him about her whereabouts.
10 तारीख के बाद बात हुई थी साहिल से?
हाँ जी।
तो क्या बोला था उसने जब पूछा अपनी बेटी के बारे में?
मैंने बोला जी मेरी बेटी कहाँ है, तो उसने बोला कि आपकी बेटी तो घूमने गई है। मैं कहाँ घूमने गई? कह रहे वो अपने दोस्तों के साथ देहरादून मंसूरी घूमने गई है। मैंने उसका
अच्छा।
फोन कहा है, कह रहे उसका फोन मेरे पास छोड़ दी। मैं क्यों तुम्हारे पास फोन कैसे छोड़ दी? कह रहे बस वो ऐसे ही छोड़ दी कि मैं फोन ही ले जाऊंगी, ऐसे ही जाऊँ।
क्या आपकी जो बेटी निक्की, उसका फोन ऑन था?
नहीं जी,
फोन ऑफ था।
हाँ जी, फोन ऑफ है। फोन उसी के पास है, उसने तो बोल रखा कि फोन मेरे पास है।
The family also made a desperate plea for justice.
ये कानून जो कानून है देश की जी, तो अम्बेडकर की जो कानून है बनाई है अम्बेडकर ने, उस कानून में जो फैसला वो फैसला होगा। अगर नहीं होगा तो हम अपने हाथ से फैसला करेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
अब ये जो घटना हो गई है तो आपकी क्या मांग है, क्या चाहते हैं सर?
हमारी तो मांग ये है जी, हमारी बेटी का कत्ल कर दिया गया तो उसको सजा मौत होनी चाहिए।
While Shraddha's family still awaits justice, will it be any different for Nikki Yadav's near ones? With Himanshu Mishra, Arvind Ojha and Akshay Dongre in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me live on Newstrack, the police officer who has led the team cracking this case, Ravindra Yadav, Special Commissioner of Police Crime of the Delhi Police. Mr. Yadav, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time here on Newstrack. My first question to you on the Nikki Yadav murder case, how was this crime cracked? What were the initial clues and how was it finally cracked, sir? If you could share that with us.
Some of our staff members living in that outskirts of Delhi rural areas, they got this hint that there is something wrong in this marriage. And then they worked upon it, and then when we grilled him, then he broke down and he confessed and disclosed that he has kept the body in the fridge. So he led us to that dhaba of his, which he had locked up, and we could recover the body. We were fortunate that we could detect the whole thing in time before he could dispose of the body, and the evidence obtained is very precious for helping us in convict this person.
Was he planning to get rid of the body, sir? Because, you know, many people are reminded of the Shraddha Walkar murder as well. Similarly, you know, her body parts were cut up and put in a fridge. In this case, it was an intact body found in a fridge, sir.
Yeah, of course, he had very little time because 9th he had this engagement ceremony and it went on till late night of 9th, and he reached her house beyond midnight. And in the morning he took the plea that I'll take you somewhere out to some tourist place, and then he went around to ISBT and other places. And in the meantime, he strangulated her, and then again dumped the body, and the same day he again went for marriage. So he had very little time to dispose of the body. So we are fortunate in that respect that we could recover the main evidence, and this would go a long way in helping us in marshalling evidence and making our case for conviction.
I know you can't share, deep details of the investigation, Mr. Yadav. I appreciate that. But could you enlighten us a little bit about the interrogation of Sahil? How is that going? What all information has he revealed?
Yeah, he has revealed certain things, but I would say that we have to corroborate those things. We have to confirm them, and we have to have corroborating evidence of his locations, of CCTV footage. So we are not taking anything for granted, whatever he is telling us. We have to cross-check it. We have also to cross-check whether any other accomplice or friends were involved. So far he is saying that he was alone. So all these things, because earlier we had this impression that it was in night. Now today's interrogation has thrown light that it was in the morning of 10th when we did all this. Earlier we were under the impression it was between 9th and 10th intervening night, maybe beyond midnight. But today he has said that it is 10th morning, so we will be looking the footage afresh in those areas which he is saying that he took her and the route he took. So everything would be corroborated. Forensic evidence, of course, we have marshalling from the footage and from the accent car which he used. So we are all we are very sure and produce it before the court in a very cogent and professional manner.
Is he showing remorse? I'm just trying to get a fix on, the kind of body language that Sahil is exhibiting under this interrogation. Is he showing remorse? Is he just saying all these things very plainly? Could you enlighten us on that, sir?
He has been wavering. Sometimes he takes some alibis, sometimes he takes some emotional angles. But I won't like to comment on all that because it's too early in the investigation. And let us see some all these things which he is saying. We need to corroborate them first before we can put a very good charge sheet against him.
Last couple of questions, Mr. Yadav. Many people who watched our coverage of this were reminded of the recent Shraddha Walkar murder case as well. In the course of the investigation and the cracking of this case, did you see any, parallels that many of our viewers are also seeing, apart from the obvious?
There may be, but we take a case by case, and for us, this is the case which we have to focus now. And we will go with all these similarities and all these things, of course, people can look into. But I won't go into all these conjectures. We are focusing on making a tight and shut case against this accused.
What next as part of the investigation, sir? Will more people be questioned? Are you trying to expand the investigation as well?
Of course, if we need, it all depends on the need of the investigation. If we feel that we need some witnesses who would corroborate our the story which he's telling, or which will contradict him, whatever is required for investigation, that will of course be done very expeditiously.
Mr. Ravindra Yadav, thank you very much for speaking to India Today and taking our questions on a day when this story has come to light. I know it's difficult because the investigation is still early, but the Delhi police is doing its job and doing it admirably well. We will continue to report and ask those questions. Ravindra Yadav, thank you very much, sir, for speaking to India Today. Now remember, it's impossible not to be reminded of the Aftab Poonawalla case and how he killed and chopped up his young girlfriend Shraddha Walkar in May last year. It's a story that India Today had broken and led coverage with late last year. Aftab Poonawalla is currently in jail. His case comes up for hearing on the 21st of this month. Here's the latest on the Shraddha murder case.
Two murders, 3 months apart, but eerily similar. The killing of Nikki Yadav by her live-in partner Sahil Gehlot has brought back the horror of Shraddha Walkar's murder by her boyfriend Aftab. 28-year-old Aftab Poonawalla continues to be in jail. He has in fact asked for a pen or pencil and a notebook to make notes on his case. Aftab has also asked a Delhi court to allow him access to English novel and his academic certificates. Delhi police have filed 6,629-page charge sheet in the Shraddha Walker murder case. It was murder most foul that had stunned India. Aftab allegedly strangled Shraddha, 27-year-old, on May 18, 2022 at their rented accommodation in South Delhi's Chhatarpur. He then chopped up the body into 17 pieces and dumped them in forested areas in and around South Delhi over the next few weeks. A tactic that helped him avoid being caught till his arrest on November 12. Aftab too had stored Shraddha's body parts in a refrigerator. He in fact used a saw to cut up her body and brought home women that he met on dating apps while Shraddha's chopped up body parts were still lying in his apartment. The Delhi police charge sheet says Aftab shifted the body parts when he would bring a date home. Clean the refrigerator, he would again put the body parts back in the fridge once the woman left. Aftab's case comes up for hearing in a Delhi court on February 21 now. Bureau Report, India Today.
Another case of a young woman murdered most foully by the man she was in a relationship with. Another murder, another crime in which the man has gone about his normal life apparently just hours or minutes after committing that crime. Another murder where the woman killed has been stuffed into a fridge. Another murder where the man appears to be remorseless while confessing his crime. There are so many parallels, and one finds it difficult not to be reminded of the Shraddha Walker murder case. But let's try and make sense of this with the experts, those who know a thing or two about crimes, about domestic abuse, about relationships of this kind, and what this says about us as a society. Joining me live on Newstrack, Varkha Cholani is one of India's most well-known clinical psychologists. Vikram Singh is former Director General of Police of Uttar Pradesh. He's investigated many crimes himself. Flora Saini is an actor. She's also been a victim of relationship abuse. Trisha Shetty is a social activist and a lawyer. Welcome to all of you. Good evening. Thank you very much for being with me. Varkha, I'm going to start it off with you first. We've had you on during the Shraddha Walker coverage as well. It's difficult not to be reminded of that. An apparently totally normal scene, a relationship, a man committing a horrific crime, shoving the body of a woman into a fridge, and then carrying on totally normally. What did you think when you first heard about this?
I just believe that there are psychopaths all over the place, and
Yeah.
I do believe that somewhere around what is happening in the recent past is, if you see the age group of people committing these kind of heinous acts and feeling absolutely remorseless, maybe a tendency of us as parents bringing up, particularly sometimes more boys than girls, with complete no consequences to their behavior. So they are literally getting away with murder. And their ability to tolerate frustration, especially rejection from the girls that they date, because they have very strange ideas of love and being loved, okay? And they're not able to withstand the rejection that someone says, no, I don't want to marry you, or I don't want to be with you, and possibly never experiencing a no in their families, in their homes, never
Yes.
having faced consequences for anything that, they've done, which is a wrong, so to speak. They possibly just believe that they are entitled, that they have to get their way. And it's a very sorry state, because society at large, particularly Indian society, is getting away with pretty much everything. There is no penalty, there are no consequences. And I think we are in an anarchy, a social ecosystem which is now getting into aggressive, demonstrative, and they believe, unfortunately, that they can get away. And they are getting away. And that's why I think a large part of us have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, how are we bringing up our children? Why are we allowing them to face no deprivation? Why are we allowing them to get away with anything and everything? Why are there no consequences to bad behavior? Why are we not teaching frustration tolerance? I think as a society, today it's time for us to pause, because today it's murder number 2. But I don't believe that it's going to stop here.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's going to get worse. And it's time for us as a collective whole, as a society at large, to really start taking cognizance of penalties that we put in place and see that those penalties are actually accrued to the person who commits crime, and of course to our parenting styles.
And obviously it may not be just two, because, you know, I have to say this, the media tends to focus on cases like these because they happen in the big cities. There must be cases of this kind happening elsewhere in the country as well that, you know, evades the big media's eye. I will be honest when I say that. Flora, you know, I don't want to ask any leading questions because I genuinely want to know what all of you think about this case. You know, coming as it does so soon after the Shraddha Walkar murder. Flora, thoughts about this particular crime?
It just, I don't know, it feels, leaves me absolutely numb because we just had Shraddha's case.
Yeah.
And that was so, you know, people were shocked throughout the country. So to see an exact copy of that and so soon, it's like, I don't know what's wrong with people. And, you know, if I could tell people, please, you have to, when you are in a relationship, and especially a live-in relationship, you're so close to your partner. Yeah. There's so many telltale signs of, you know, the red flags that you get. And I'm sure this was, you know, this was the final. I'm sure there would be some history of some sort of violence that would have taken place in those 5 years, because you don't just get that strength of killing someone you loved and dated for 5 years. Don't. It has to be, it's a build-up, you know, that finally, so there has to be some sort of a history of abuse, which we know, I guess, a little later. But if I could tell all the girls out there, please be very careful, whoever you date, the minute you see the red flags, don't try and change, don't try and stick around that you will be able to change your partner or things will, you know, get better. You get life only once. If it's not working out, if you're not happy, if your partner is in any way toxic or abusive, get out of there. You have only one life, and trust me, good love exists. It'll find you when the time is right, when your time to find that good love is, you know, comes up.
I'm glad you said that, Flora, because that was going to be my next question to you about those danger signs in relationships. You know, and those danger signs appeared to have existed in the Shraddha Walkar murder for sure, with everything that we've heard from that case. You know, in the days ahead, perhaps we'll hear something of a similar nature about the relationship between Sahil and Nikki as well. You know, one wonders what we'll hear. But Trisha, bringing you in on this, you know, the parallels between the two cases are startling. I have to say that obviously each case is separate, but there's a sense of alarm. There's a sense of alarm when one looks at both these cases and looks at a man who sort of carries on with his, you know, with his work, his day-to-day job. He got married just a couple of days after committing this murder.
Undoubtedly, I think we have to talk about the air of desensitization and dehumanization, right? It's easy to talk about violence when it's not within intimate settings, but the truth in India is over 97% of cases of violence is actually within intimate settings. And in these situations, there is unfortunately the additional layer of trauma, of shame that's put on survivors. So there is a sense of alienization where they don't know whom to reach out to, because you're essentially saying that the person abusing you is a person within your own home. The person that you trusted to spend maybe your life with is the person that's abusing you. So whom do you reach out to? Do you tell your family? And when you reach out to your family, often they don't know how to address it. Also, you know, when you reach out to the police station, there's a sense of ghar ki baat ghar pe rakho. There's a hesitation because you also don't know how you know, do you want to see your intimate partner in jail? So in these sort of situations, often what we find is survivors have gone through multiple abuses where they've reached a point of just complete dehumanization, and they don't know whom to reach out to. There's also severe mental trauma, and critically also we have to account for financial independence and stability. That becomes a huge factor, right? When you're sharing a home with person, your finances are intertwined. So you can't just pack up your bags and leave because you have to worry about finances. And then if there's a child in the equation, that's another factor. So this is a multi-level factor. And then, of course, when you talk about such violent cases, you are right that these violent cases come to light, but there are so many instances of abuse happening within homes that are just going unaddressed.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to, I wanted to go back to Flora for just a minute, but I want to get that opening comment from Vikram Singh as well. Mr. Singh, the investigation was a very short one. It was cracked very, very quickly. Is there an element of crimes of this kind being inspired by earlier crimes? I apologize if that's an oversimplistic question, but here you have a man who has shoved his girlfriend's body into a fridge. The same sort of thing happened in the Shraddha Walkar case as well?
Absolutely, Shiv, you nailed it. Because there is a precedence, and precedence in close proximity of time. Then there are web series, and there are also Netflixes and other channels which give wrong kind of ideas to the youth. Shraddha Walkar case perhaps is an example where perhaps Sahil got ideas, and he probably thought that if Aftab continues to be alive and continues without any sign of any punishment given to him till date, only a charge sheet, well, he probably thought he will get away with this murder too. That, of course, is again a set. There are things that all the three could have done better. The police, the society, and the parents. But we'll talk of the police only. There is that, yes, Aftab's case was cracked out, but yes, he could have been put in the fast-track court and given exemplary treatment and punishment both. When I say treatment, don't mistake me for third degree of police brutality. I would say that, yes, the time taken could have been into something that is better. I don't say that. I
understand what you're saying, sir. You're saying that the police should have sent out a message as far as punishment for this man is concerned. Varka, coming back to you, and I just want to fix that audio line with Mr. Singh, Vikram Singh, so that we can hear him a little more clearly. Varka, we know Aftab killed Shraddha after an argument, and we understand that in this case as well, he killed her with a charging cable, for God's sake, after she found out that he was getting married. In your view, and forgive me if I'm using words that are incorrect, but, could this be a murder driven by a sense of rage or a sense of control? What does it look like?
So from whatever I read in the press, I believe he asked her to marry him. She refused. And that's when he got enraged and strangulated her. So there is something called narcissistic rage, where in a fit of rage, because I have been rejected and I have been deprived of what I believe.
Though in this particular case, she's the one who flew into he was the one who was getting married to someone else, and she had found out about it, and that's how the fight started.
Right. So, so the fight possibly began, and then he, realizing that he was cheating on her, or he was going to dump her, decided that, maybe she would spill other beans of other facets of what he is as a person, and decided that he might as well end her life. But there is something called narcissistic rage, where we lose control over our senses temporarily, realizing that, either we've been caught out or we've been found out. And instead of accepting and acknowledging that we have possibly made an error or we've made a mistake, we want to actually be defensive and be aggressive. So many a time, aggression is a form of defense, not wanting to accept to oneself that one has unfortunately made an error. So yes, I would say that, this came out of absolute uncontrolled rage.
Flora, I completely agree with Trisha when she says there are so many layers, to the kind of interconnections between people in relationships, and one can wonder till kingdom come about why a young woman who appears to be in control of her life doesn't walk away from a toxic relationship. But and I don't want to oversimplify, because there can't be one blanket rule for everyone. But what are those warning signs? As we end this discussion, what are some of the general warning signs that you think young people should look out for?
I think, like I said, there cannot be any one, this can't be the only act of violence, and violence at what extent. So there has to have been a history of domestic violence between the two of them, and we spoke about narcissist and toxic partners. They have a pattern, and the pattern involves kind of physical, mental, abuse that goes on till one day, because you can't get the strength to kill someone. You have to have, and the very fact that he was getting married that day. think about it, he was so cool and composed. Okay, I've killed someone, I put them in a fridge, I go ahead and get married like nothing happened. So God, it takes a lot of it takes a stone heart to probably go ahead and get on with it and say, I'll take care of things, or I got this. I don't know what kind of a mindset is that, but then definitely it's not a normal person. And what people need to learn is there are small little things that lead to this, small acts of violence that kind of sum up to this one big act of violence. So if there was one thing I could tell everyone would be that the first act of violence is your warning sign. You have to make people around you aware that you're dating someone who has this tendency of being violent. I don't think you should even consider staying any longer after the first, but yes, girls, stick around. But you have to tell yourself this is not going to change, and you have to make yourself strong to get out of there.
Okay.
That's the
on that useful piece of information, from people who've been there, who've seen it, who've experienced it, I'm going to end this discussion. I wish I had more time, but I have a feeling we're going to be tracking this story over the next few days, just like we did the Shraddha Walkar murder as well. And I think we owe it to Nikki Yadav to continue to find out more layers of this story. And I'm sure we will. I will continue to report on this story very, very sensitively. Thank you very much, Varka, Flora, Mr. Singh and Trisha for being with me here on India Today's Newstrack. Thank you very much.